For our Monday's GMS Focus, we are now joined by Professor Byung-joo of the Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Good morning, Professor Byung-joo.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to see you on this fine Monday. Well, North Korea recently amended its constitution, officially designating South Korea as a quote-unquote hostile state, and has blown up sections of roads and railways connecting the two countries. Meanwhile, Russia is moving forward with the ratification of a strategic partnership treaty with North Korea. Well, this situation remains tense, with both North Korea and Russia strengthening their positions amidst growing international attention. So my first question would be, how do we explain North Korea's recent actions of raising tensions, such as sending the trash balloons and making claims about what they call South Korea's drones entering their airspace?
Right. Looks like trash balloons from North Korea and what North Korea alleges as drones from South Korea. Looks like a tit for tat here. And trash balloon side, the issue has been a real dilemma and challenge for the South Korean government. We recall from the end of May, North Korea has been sending these trash balloons, and the way they fly towards south, and then balloon is attached to the balloons. Attached is these trash bags, and they have a timer, and this timer is the one that uses heat, and they disconnect when timer gets activated, and so that the trash bags could be dropped and kind of like on the ground and create a mess here. The thing is, because of this timer that uses heat, sometimes a fire can be caused, and this has caused a lot of damages in the south, and there has been much unhappiness about it and speculation about the question that you just asked: why are they doing this? I guess we can talk about this, over time here in this segment, because this kind of relates to the big picture overall. But, North Korea itself is saying that this is in reaction to South Korea's actions, such as playing the speakers, the broadcasting towards the north. And altogether, therefore, what we can see is just these are the steps of escalation that we see, as you mentioned, between the two Koreas, especially when we add the drone side of it. It's interesting that North Korea is making these claims that South Korean drones have entered North Korea's airspace and have come all the way to Pyongyang, and they were found in the spots quite close to the center of Pyongyang, they claim. And what does this all mean? There have been different kind of speculations and analysis side. Experts here in South Korea are presenting several different possibilities. Number one is this could be all North Korea's fabrication. They're just making this up and just making this argument, presenting the so-called evidence that they created on their own. So there's a strong possibility for that. And then some people say this is an act of groups inside North Korea that opposes North Korean regime. And they're trying to do this, making a statement that North Korea regime itself faces a crisis. And the third possibility, analysts say, is this is act by South Korea's citizens group, especially the defectors from North Korea and kind of the strong side of the anti-North Korean groups here inside South Korea. They may be doing this in extension, as an extension to what they have been doing all along, sending balloons from South Korea towards North with US dollars and information package and things like that, CDs and stuff like that. And this could be an extension of that. Some people say that's third possibility. And the fourth possibility is what North Korean government is claiming. They're saying this is an act by South Korea. And some people say, well, there is such possibility because of North Korea's sending of balloons, the trash balloons. And so South Korean government cannot be sitting here, quiet, and they have to counter it, and they may have to do this. So there are all these different kind of possibilities explaining why this is happening and what this is altogether. What we know is, according to the analysts and experts' views, this kind of situation of so-called South Korean drones found inside North Korea kind of helped North Korean regime because they say North Korean regime is sustained by the tension, the perception of threats from outside. And so when these kind of cases happen, whether they make this up, whether they fake it or not, this actually helps kind of internal unity, kind of pressing down on any possible oppositions inside North Korea and kind of making a statement that, look, we face this kind of threats from outside, so therefore we should not tolerate any opposition, any disagreement with inside, and we really have to hold North Korean system tightly together. So that could be one of the statements being made by North Korea by emphasizing this case of drones.
Professor Kim, you mentioned the four possibilities. I think the all possibilities raise quite sensitive questions here. And it's obvious that North Korea is continuing its provocations. And this adds pressure to an already tense situation on the Korean Peninsula. Then what about the destruction of the roads? We have covered this several times, the roads and the railways connected to South Korea. How do you explain those actions?
Yeah, also there are different kinds of interpretations from this side, South Korea, and overall different views have been expressed by different experts. But all in all, looks like it's what North Korea is doing throughout last week, destroying these roads along the railways. And by the way, I mean, they destroyed these facilities and roads that South Korea had helped them build in the past. And South Korean government responded saying, look, we loaned them $133 million in building these roads, and they're destroying these, and they'll have to pay this back and stuff. But anyway, from South Korean side, the sense of loss and sense of loss of all these efforts that have been made throughout the past several decades is a serious one. So the sense of disappointment on this side makes perfect sense. Having said that, at the same time, why are they doing this in the north? One of the key kind of overlap among different kind of observations seem to be that what they're doing right now is a statement and symbolic action, or kind of declaratory actions, saying that we want to stand alone, and these two Koreas are separate, and overall, North Korea, South Korea, in the future, we're not going to be seeking any kind of cooperation going forward. So this is Kim Jong-un's way of saying that cooperation in the future is not an option, and we want to stand alone, and we meaning North Korea, wants to treat South Korea as a quote unquote the enemy state. Since last year, I think it's been about a year or close to that time since Kim Jong-un has kind of aired this idea that these two Koreas are separate states and enemy states toward one another. And since then, we understand he has ordered revision of their constitution. And there are different observations of whether this constitution revision has actually taken place or not. But this kind of action has been going on for nearly a year overall. And so this is the latest action in terms of showing visible results in terms of what North Korea is doing to disconnect its ties with the South. And we are no longer kind of like the same kind of people. And so don't expect any kind of peaceful gestures or commitment to cooperation going forward. It's a statement, basically.
I see. Well, this latest act of destruction underscores North Korea's intent to deepen the divide between the two Koreas. Then why are they doing this? As you mentioned, South Korea, they declare South Korea as a quote-unquote an enemy state, enemy country. What are the intentions behind North Korea's declaration of South Korea as a hostile state or an enemy country?
Also, because anything that North Korea does throughout the for the past several decades, we have learned that this is all could be only speculated because they are so secretive and we don't have as much of information. And so all that is speculations. So speculations means, as we've been repeatedly doing this morning, all different kinds of scenarios can be produced. One of the important scenario or explanation for declaring South Korea as an enemy country, one that stands out among different possibilities, that the argument that North Korea is paving way to the possibility of using nuclear weapons towards South Korea. Because if they continue to treat South Korea as another nation of the same Korean people, the legitimacy behind being able to use North Korean nuclear weapons is limited. A lot of people will say, well, it's the same people. How can you use our North Korean side may be saying, how can we use our North Korean nuclear weapons against our own people in the South? So that kind of observation, that kind of argument could be made. And therefore, in order to prevent that kind of argument going forward, making it real, the possibility of using nuclear weapons against South Korea, making that real, making that credible. And that's what they're doing by declaring South Korea as a enemy state as a whole. So, that's very threatening, of course, very threatening action. And so there is a big concern about that. Another one is also, it relates to the more recent phenomena of fast rising global phenomena of the world paying attention to Korea wave, popular culture, especially in the North Korea, young people paying attention to what's happening in South Korea, all this entertainment and cultural aspects of it. We've been hearing, recent reports about what North Korean authorities are doing to crack down on young North Koreans' interest in South Korea. So as an extension of this kind of crackdown, they say, look, South Korea is an enemy state, therefore it's justified that we do everything to stop any kind of flow of information from there, and then any kind of the indication of rising interest on this side about what's happening in South Korea. It needs to be dealt with very firmly. So that's why they're emphasizing the idea that South Korea is an enemy state. So altogether, this all kind of converges into one point. That is, all they're trying to do is they're trying to preserve the survival of Kim Jong-un regime, to maximize its stability and maximize its security. It's doing all these different things about declaring South Korea, cutting off their ties with the South, all because they want to linger on. They want to continue their survival. That's, I think, kind of like overall consensus-based observation from this side.
I see. Well, this declaration, however, deepens the conflict, increasing tensions and making peaceful dialogue more difficult. And it's quite clear that North Korea is solidifying its stance against South Korea. How would North Korea's troop dispatch assisting Russia impact the war in Ukraine and the international relations?
This is a big issue, and even this morning, headlines are filled with this case here, what's happening, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think we need more time. Even in terms of what is exactly happening, there are different kind of observations. And again, our keyword here is speculations. Some people say a large number of North Korean troops have been already dispatched. Others say that's being planned. Some other sources allege that as many as 1,500 North Korean special forces are already inside Ukraine. Of course, that supports the speculation quite a while ago. A few months ago, I think there has been a case of a North Korean soldier being killed on the front lines in Ukraine. So these are all kind of related. And so eventually, different observations say that maybe up to 12,000 North Korean troops will be and may end up being sent to Ukraine to fight the war for Russia. So in terms of what is happening, what will happen, in terms of facts and information, outlook and stuff, these are all divided. So these are all uncertainty. And based on this uncertain information, we have to kind of think what this actually mean. The view is divided here, of course. And one side, they say, well, this really, I mean, this looks like a major step forward, but actually, eventually, at the end of the day, they may not make that much of difference, some people say, because of several reasons. They say, look, North Korea, North Korean military, North Korean troops have never experienced war for the last 7 decades. So they are not, they've been training hard, but the thing is, they're not experienced. So they're not actually ready to be sent to the front lines. So people who are making this argument say, well, even if they send their troops, these troops will be used for like behind the front lines support roles like transportation and engineering and these kind of things, because these guys, they say, are not ready to be used on the front lines for fighting a war. They say, look, the other side, let's consider the other side, Ukraine. Ukrainian army has built their actual battlefield experience for the last 10 years. And there's no comparison between this Ukrainian army on one side and the North Korean army that has not experienced any kind of battlefield experience in the past. So they say they're not going to make much difference, and they know that. So it's not going to happen, they say. But however,
yes.
Yeah, speculations. However, on the other side, there are other observations being made saying, look, North Korea-Russian cooperation is a major thing here, and this could be a first step in escalation going forward. And because of this, these are Western observers saying we might have to consider dispatching eventually NATO troops to help Ukraine overall. And they're saying we wanted to end the war through dialogue, but if Russia does this, this means prolonging of the war, and this means even NATO troops might have to be mobilized. And some people say, just like Russia has been arguing, this could be being led to kind of World War scale fights going forward. So those are optimistic, the pessimistic observation about its impact.
So as you mentioned, this development will certainly escalate global tensions, raising serious questions about the shifting alliances and the broader implications for global stability. Then the international community, the international globes, they asks us how serious the current inter-Korean situation really is. How do we respond to that question?
Yeah, relating to this question of North Korean troops being sent to Russia and stuff, and then balloons and drones and speakers and broadcast, and many international observers and the businesses and audience ask this question. What's the level of tension here in inter-Korean relations? Is it reaching one of the highest points once again, they're saying, after the latest peak of 2017? My explanation has been that not really, because of what North Korea has been doing. North Korea has built their nuclear weapons, and looks like through these declarations, they're making sure that this nuclear weapons will be used as a real force of deterrence for sure, and perhaps, as they may argue, it's their own self-defense. And at the same time, they're sending their troops and they're sending their ammunitions to Ukraine. Any country that's getting ready for full-scale military confrontation and conflict is not going to do that. They're not going to send their troops and then ammunitions to overseas or other countries. So overall, I've been telling the international audience that because considering actually what North Korea is doing with Russia, this kind of is an evidence that they're not going to actually start any provocation of any major scale, ultimate major scale. And in order to avoid that situation, they're just trying to keep the tension up a little bit so that they won't have to be able to suddenly jump up the scale of raising tensions. So that has been an observation being offered to the audience that has been asking this question.
Well, the current inter-Korea relation, the situation is clearly serious, with heightened military actions and political moves further worsening relations, and the increasing involvement of external powers like Russia only adds to the already fragile balance on the Korean Peninsula. We should keep an eye on how these developments unfold, as they could have significant impact, significant regional and global implications. Thank you for your thorough and insightful coverage, Professor Kim Byung-joo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that was Professor Kim Byung-joo of the Hankuk University of Foreign Studies.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.